A lot of people talk about 10x. I'm not always good at 10x, but this is a literal measurable 10x. So the belief is that there's three ways that people build wealth in the broken system. It takes money to make money, says everyone that wants your money. High risk equals high return, says the people not taking the risk and they're getting return. And you're in it for the long haul. So that's a terrible notion of accumulation, which is slow and dogmatic. Money times rate times time. That's a problem. Don't think that way. Instead, I want you to think about financial independence, which means you have enough recurring revenue from your assets to cover your basic income. Basic income, not your full lifestyle, but just enough that the most important things to your significant other and yourself are taken care of. So whatever schools, whatever, travel, like a good life, but not maybe the most extraordinary life, but you know that if you make a mistake, that's not going away. Economic independence allows you to swing for the fences in everything else you do. So think of it this way. The world right now is being trained and indoctrinated to save 10% of their income, risk it to get 10% return, which, by the way, doesn't really exist in the future with AI destroying these marketplaces. Right? They're, like, even right now, market's doing okay. 5 stocks are driving all of the market growth right now. So if you're not in those 5 stocks, who gives a shit that it's doing okay, even though it should be doing worse with the economy? It is doing bad with the economy, but we have a few that are carrying the entire thing. Who knew which ones to pick? If you didn't know, you might not be in the best place. So these people are trying to save 10% of their money, try to earn 10%. They wait for 30 years, and they find out when it's too late. 95% of the time in the US, people are not financially independent at age 65. 95% failure rate. 95% failure rate, yet people are still setting it, forget it, invest early, often and always, dollar cost average, and all this stuff because it is an indoctrinated philosophy where you don't want to disappoint your parents because you're not prepared for your retirement. And even worse, when you go to ask for your money back from brokers, they make you feel bad of getting your own money back. I've watched it. I watched a guy at one of my events decide he sold his business for $20 million. He had lost $800,000 in the first month. He got sick to his stomach. He couldn't sleep. It had been 2 weeks in a row. I finally talked to him. He's like, I'm going to make the call. He threw up before he made the call. And his advisor was on speaker, and his advisor said, this will be the worst mistake of your life. In the next 90 days, he saved another $600,000 being out of the market. They are indoctrinated in one moral hazard. It's a moral hazard of compensation that isn't based upon results. It's compensation based upon convincing and customer service devoid of accountability. Not that I have passion around it. I was that jackass the first 2 years selling this model until I had to look at my parents and my grandparents and my Aunt Mary and say, yeah, you're in it for the long haul. They're like, we don't want to be in it for the long haul. Oh, the market's on sale. Well, why didn't you tell us that it was going on sale before you sold us this shit? Like, all of those notions that we're told are problematic. So financial independence says your assets cover your expenses. Now, what does this mean? It means every active dollar you earn can build more assets, and you're now 10 times better off than the person that's slugging away for 30 years saving 10%. Because your active income is not required for your active lifestyle. Financial independence is the goal. So you think cash flow over accumulation. You think focus over diversification. You think plugging financial leaks and being efficient over taking risk. Here's the 5-part framework for financial independence. Number 1, I've said it already, but you plug financial leaks, you boost the bottom line, you become more efficient. It's like having improved margin in business, but this is what you do in your personal finances. I shared the 4 I's to do that. The first is, we're in Canada, so it doesn't really work. IRS, it just sounds better as 4 I's, but the Canadian revenue system, or whoever the hell you guys use, whatever loony toony ends up showing up. So you got, the second is interest, the third is investments, and remember the fees, and the fourth is insurance. It's about structuring those so you keep more of what you make, and that makes a big difference. Number 2, engineering wealth. Just like we saw in earlier presentations, you reverse engineer and say, here's the amount that is required every month. Let's reverse engineer and see what it takes to create cash flow to cover that. The way that you do that is, number 1, you build your foundation so nothing's slipping through the cracks. Number 2, you build your safety and security, which means the asset protection so that it can't be confiscated. And then number 3 is you focus on investor DNA. Risk is not in the investment, it's in you, the investor. So if you're investing in things you know and understand, you'll be able to manage risk better than investing in things that sound great. Investor DNA is you pick your lane. If you're really good at real estate, invest in real estate. You know, if you're really good at business acquisition, do business acquisition. What everyone in this room should think of as investing is intellectual property. That's the investment. I look at my assets as Killing Sacred Cows, Money Unmasked, I Am Money, my theatrical keynote, my comedy, like that's my assets. They're an extension of the artistry that I want to live, not some numbers on a piece of paper that define who I am, even though I have no control over it. Like the more people get addicted to net worth, the more risk they have in feeling good about themselves. Because when our self-worth and our net worth is connected, guess what? Cash flow is so much superior to net worth because net worth for some people, when the markets change, is relatively worthless if it can't be converted to cash. It's like bragging rights. It's the bicep. It may look sexy, but it's not as good as the glute and the hams. You know what I'm saying? Just trying to use some Ironman training session talk here. Yeah, leg day. So strategically engineering wealth is you find the way to reverse engineer. You plug your leaks first, then you reverse engineer, and then you create that cash flow. Then the third thing is you accelerate investment income, which means you become a cash flow investor. You invest for cash flow. If you're going to invest outside of cash flow and you want this huge return, you have to, in my mind, be economically independent first. So if you're economically independent and you want to speculate and say there's an asymmetric opportunity here, that I'm putting a small amount of money, it could all go away, but it could have a huge gain, become economically independent first. Because there's a psychological trigger and shift of abundance that happens when you're financially independent, especially if you understand your money persona and your significant other's money persona. You can go to GarrettGunderson.com/quiz, know your money persona. It's in the book, so make sure to read the book, the first 2 chapters. This is the hidden factors that determine or destroy people's wealth, is their money persona. And my wife is a planner, and I'm a creator. And in the early part of our marriage, I saw her as the brakes and me the gas, and I couldn't get her on the same page until I realized she wanted a certain amount of money in savings. She wanted a certain amount of money that if she knew she could count on coming in every single month, then she became the biggest cheerleader and say, let's go for it. Let's go for it. All I had to do was now when we're doing something, she asks the questions I don't ask. When, how, who, like she goes through all this and she gets the details. And once we knew each other's money persona in 2008, we have yet to have a fight about money sense. So that's the difference. We fought about money. Our first year, I was such a damn miser, which you'll see about the miser persona, that like we argued about money all the time. And she's like, damn, I maybe thought I married the wrong guy, which hurt. But now my family's favorite pastime is to tell stories of Dad the miser. See, because the kids didn't really know Dad the miser. But one Christmas, I bought her a phone case that didn't fit her phone because it was in a clearance bin for 99 cents. She loves telling that story when her parents are like, hey, if you want to live in the basement rent-free, you can. I'm like, babe, we can live in the basement rent-free. She goes, sex-free if you think that's where we're living. So like the miser in me really, was engaged. But you'll understand those money personas, which is super helpful. But I want you to focus at accelerating investment income and becoming a cash flow investor, because if you're financially independent, you can swing for the fences and create a vision that's beyond your current reach. Because you know that even if it takes longer, requires more time, you haven't put your family in any level of jeopardy, and you get that permission. The fourth thing, and you're here to do this fourth thing, and this is a game changer, is scale business revenue. Scale your business revenue. You going from 1 million to 10 million is a whole lot easier than a $1 trillion company going to 2 trillion. And you have the tools and resources and people in your life. What's that one thing that you can tweak that gives you exponential growth? Like what I heard earlier today, this is one of the secrets of Wealth Factory was we delegated roles, R-O-L-E-S, not tasks. Tasks are like boomerangs that come back asking what to do next. A role removes the micromanagement, so that frees you up. They own that objective like it's their business. And if they need your support, they come to you versus you micromanaging them. That's an example of scale. We know marketing. We know all these formulas that Dan shared. We know what AI. This is all about scale. I'm not going to take any time on scale because you're getting so much of it here. The fifth one, and this is critical, is make it count. Make it count. Enjoy life along the way. What's your relaxation, rejuvenation, and recreation? If you don't have an amazing hobby that you do for no other reason than you enjoy it, you're missing out on purpose in life. Most purpose comes when we're doing something that had nothing to do with business and nothing to do with money. We're just I like to fly fish. I like to, take barista lessons. I got my whiskey somm. I like to tell jokes. I like to do all this shit that has nothing to do with money, but it's those moments that a lot of these great ideas come and these downloads happen, and I dream more when I'm doing those things. And so if you want to listen to the inner voice, you've got to find a level of space where you might even find moments of boredom. A lot of entrepreneurs never get bored because they're always in chaos. Chaos destroys purpose, and if we don't make it count, we're going to burn out, we're going to make mistakes, we're going to get exhausted. And I know this because in 2006, my 2 business partners died in a plane crash. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do everything I can to help out their families and all 42 of our employees and all this. And for 4 months, I worked, and Breck was a newborn. I didn't see him. He was asleep when I left in the morning. By the time I got home late at night, and after 4 months, I remember my assistant came up and said, "You're double booked. What do you want to do?" And a sweat bead rolled down my forehead. I sat down and I said, "I don't know." I could have said, "Reschedule. See if someone else could take the appointment. Is one of them running?" I can think of 1,000 things, but that's what happens in exhaustion. Diminished marginal productivity. And then what really happened was I had to rebuild my relationship with my wife because for those 4 months, I was not available at all. And then that takes a whole bunch of time to rebuild that trust. And so if you don't make it count, it's going to cost you eventually. It costs your health, it costs your relationships, and it's going to cost your business because you'll start to resent the thing that you said. And this is the lie a lot of breadwinners will say, "I'm doing this for you." That's a lie. I'm doing this to put food on the table. We could put food on the table so easy. That's not real. We say that to justify where we feel empty and we haven't chosen to love ourselves and accept who we are. And we thought that the pursuit of some trophy or victory or revenue would get the validation. Anything in your life that you think more money will solve is only because your own relationship to yourself isn't healed, and you have this abusive relationship with money, hoping that it will do more than it was ever designed to do. That's what this book is about, man. This is my heart. It's like it's in here because what this book's like. When we unmask money, you know what it really is we want to see people and we want to be seen. That's what it comes down to. We want to see people and we want to be seen. We want to be heard. We want to be, valued. We want to be loved. Everyone in the background of their mind has this question always going, am I lovable? Do you like me now? Did I do it better? Is this nice now? And we're just doing all this thinking that that's going to solve it, but it's not. It's just the ultimate distractor. And look, man, I think the people that invented the money system knew this. That's why we start pumping up interest rates. We turn up the heat so people work harder because they want to get something out of us. And until we're financially free, and financially free is this: money is no longer the primary reason or excuse we do or don't do something. It's a consideration. It's just not the primary consideration. That's a state of being. And when money and wealth are a byproduct of a life well lived, you've won.
Hey, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And if you're enjoying these videos, well, there's good news. More where that came from, so go ahead and click through and watch the next video now.